Welcome back to the channel. Thank you for joining here at Unapologetically Progressive. Once again, I am back with another video, and this time we're going to talk about the grocery prices. Now, people voted for Donald Trump mostly because he swore he was going to bring down grocery prices on day one. He was adamant that he was going to do this. He said it over and over and over again. And then the moment he was elected, he said, I'm not going to be able to do that. Immediately, within 3 days of winning the election, he says, I'm not going to be able to do that. Why? Because tariffs are inflationary. That's what tariffs do. Because you're putting on extra taxes on people who import from other countries. Therefore, it costs them more money. Therefore, they charge the consumer more money, or the wholesalers that end up selling it to the wholesalers. It's a giant domino effect, right? Importers pay more, wholesalers pay more, consumers pay more. It just seems pretty logical, right? It's pretty much how it works. Now, there are very few ways that presidents can actually affect grocery prices, but inflationary tariffs are one of them. Now, when Joe Biden was president, I'm not going to sit here and say there wasn't massive inflation, because there was. At one point, it got as high as over 9% in early 2023. And that was frightening. We saw prices just shoot up insanely. People unable to make ends meet, people unable to eat. Right? More people having to go to food banks closing because they didn't have enough money to buy more food. And so Donald Trump did nothing to help. And we'll talk a little bit more as we go through these slides. Food prices at grocery stores rose by 0.6% from July to August, the fastest monthly rate and change for groceries since October of 2022, according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics. Think about that. The last time that we had groceries rise as quickly between July and August of this year that we had at that rate, right, was in 2022. Right as we started coming out of COVID and right as the inflation started to spike. Grocery prices rose at an astronomical rate. It was insane. But the fastest rate of growth in grocery prices between month to month since 2022. So where are prices going to end? Where are they going to stop, right? Are we going to see the increases like we saw coming out of COVID, where it wasn't necessarily a president causing anything? The reason for inflation the way it was supply chain issues. The fact that some other countries where we get some of our goods and grains and things like that. For example, we get things from China, and Ukraine was in a war, right? Remember? And China was still in lockdown. If you remember, China was still in lockdown almost, well into 2022. They started lightening up, but for a long time, people in China couldn't even leave their apartments or their homes. They were stuck inside. They couldn't even go out for a walk, right? Because when they said lockdown in China, they meant it, right? And they're one of the world's biggest economies, one of the world's biggest producers. So the entire globe, it has been seeing inflation. And in fact, as I mentioned several times in the lead up to the November election last year, our inflation rate, for as bad as you thought it was under Joe Biden, was one of the envies of the world. We were one of the top 3 in the lowest inflation rate of modernized industrial countries. That was because of the infrastructure, Build Back Better plan, the infrastructure plan, and the Inflation Reduction Act. Not only did both those put people to work, in the long run, it helped bring down inflation. But as you see, they increased. Overall, the U.S. inflation rate is roughly 2.92% in August, was what the rate was. July was 2.7, so you see an increase. In August the year before, our inflation rate was only 2.53%. Seems like what Trump promised isn't happening, right? Now, I'm not going to sit here and say he's the only cause, and we'll get into that in a minute. But you can't tell me these tariffs aren't having an effect, because not that long ago, we were sitting at just about 2.5% in April, at the end of February, 1st of April, in the April numbers. Then those reciprocal tariffs went into effect, which we'll talk about in a minute too. But as you see, there's a trend here. Inflation is in an upward trend. Groceries are expected to increase by roughly 3% overall. If you count, consumer sales and sales to, say, restaurants and stuff like that. But overall, they're going to increase by roughly 3%. Now, people at home may see a slightly lower increase. I saw in the BLM report that grocery prices for consumers at home will only increase at roughly 2.4%. So we will see how that goes, right? But overall, I mean, you're going to see more costly things when it comes to you going out to eat, things like that. And then you're going to have something else that's going to start killing this economy even further. The unemployment rate is 4.3%. And 4.3% is not the worst unemployment rate, but it ain't great. But a year ago, August, it was 4.2%. And in July of this year, it was 4.2%. So unemployment has stayed unreasonably high, really, over the last year. And since COVID, it hasn't really rebounded. It's come down quite a bit, but it hasn't really rebounded as much as people would like it to be. Now, I've been told that somewhere between 3 to 6% unemployment is reasonable, but I don't even really think that's a great idea, because that means there's people not being able to take care of themselves. The lower the unemployment rate, the fewer people that are on food stamps, the fewer people need government assistance, and the fewer people that are having to put up with government bureaucrats to be able to eat food, right? But this is going to start killing the economy. And it's going to be a problem because we have grocery prices going up. At the same time, people are going to be losing jobs, possibly. Are we looking at a recession? I don't know. But I can tell you this. An unemployment rate of 4.2% under Biden, we increased jobs by 122,000. In this economy, under Trump, with our 4.3%, what did we do? How many hundreds of thousands of jobs did we increase? We didn't. We only gained 22,000 jobs. It's a huge decrease over the year from August 2024 to 2025. And these numbers are about the same as they've been. If you remember during the campaign in 2024, the 122,000, 200,000, Donald Trump called those, weak numbers. Well, Mr. Trump, what are these? 22,000. 22,000 jobs created in a country of 340 million. Make sense to you? Don't make sense to me. But yeah, tariffs are bad. And there are a lot of other reasons. And tariffs aren't the only reason for our prices to go up. But let's take coffee, for example. Why are coffee prices spiking? Tariffs. Now, even though some of Donald Trump's tariffs were deemed illegal and unconstitutional, some of them were allowed to stay, right? Only certain tariffs and certain levels of tariffs were considered bad, or unconstitutional. Some of the others are allowed to stay. And of course, some of these are going to go away, and some food prices may come down, and the ones on coffee may go away. because I don't know exactly which ones, but I know right now the driver in food prices and food price increases is the price of beef and the price of coffee. People are really going to start being mad because they're going to stop getting their caffeine in the morning. Because people are looking at getting their coffee, and they're going to be looking at $3-4 more by the end of the year than what they've already been paying, right? Beef prices, meat prices in general, beef, chicken, pork, all are going through the roof. Now with things like I don't know, chicken, like you get it, right? It's bird flu. But there are other reasons why we have problems with food prices going up. There are environmental factors taking effect for beef as well, and pork and things like that. There are environmental factors. There's feed price factors because the price of feed has gone up. The stuff farmers need to raise cattle and pigs and chickens have gone up across the board, right? Gas prices are not down under $2 like Trump wants to tell you. That's another driver. But you know what he doesn't tell you, what he keeps forgetting to tell you, and the price of beef keeps going up? Part of that is because he's put blocks on other countries for us importing beef from certain other countries, where we got a lot of beef that we didn't make here, or we imported in order to keep the prices down as best we could. There's a reason beef is what it is. It's not all presidents. It's not all a president's fault. And groceries aren't 100% on Donald Trump's tariffs either. Because the main driver is greed. The main driver are the corporations that produce the food jacking up prices. And that massive increase in grocery prices in 2022 to 2023, where we saw our inflation rate hit over 9%, and grocery prices astronomically higher than they'd been at least since the Great Recession, if not the Great Depression, right? But the reason for it, there were studies. A study came out in 2024 showing that over 53% of all inflation from 2022 to 2023 was corporate greed. Corporations raising prices for the goods they were manufacturing well over what they needed to pay for the inflationary situation we were having because of COVID. What people also don't want to bother to tell you, the media didn't bother to tell you at all leading up to the November election last year, was that all throughout 2024, inflation was falling. You had a few spikes here and there. Overall, the trend was down. The trend was still going down when Donald Trump took office. The trend continued going down until he put his tariffs in place. And then all of a sudden, we saw inflation reverse and go back up. It's almost as if he planned it that way. I don't really know. All I know is that my grocery prices are up higher than they've been since 2023. I know they continue going up. And I don't know what people are going to do. The federal government is cutting food stamps. They're making a mockery of people on the system that need the help. And now you've got this. You got these tariffs raising rates. And no, you don't have to buy meat. You don't have to have chicken and beef and pork. But that's a staple for a lot of people. That's where most people get their protein. And a lot of people don't want to be vegan. They don't want to be vegetarian. And there's only so much protein you're going to get from vegetables and only vegetables. Humans were not meant to just be carnivores or vegetarians. We're supposed to eat a little of everything. That's how we stay healthy. But it's not the way things are going right now. Something's got to give. Either we're going to have to put more money into food stamps because more people are going to be losing their jobs and losing their ability to buy food, or all of Trump's tariffs need to go away, and we need to create laws that prevent price gouging by corporate producers of food. Because it's ridiculous that we're dealing with this. It is ridiculous that all these what is it, 3 years removed from the end of the COVID lockdowns, we're still dealing with inflation. And I know, like I said, under Biden, inflation wasn't great. But there was a difference in how we got there. There was a difference in reasoning, right? We were coming out of COVID lockdowns in 2022, and there was a lot of free money handed out. I'll admit that may have played a hand in some of that as well. But 53% of it was price gouging. 53%. It's a way corporations could make themselves an extra buck, make the president they didn't support, look bad. Because Americans generally don't understand that presidents don't directly control prices except through tariffs, really. And Joe Biden put some tariffs out there that I didn't support. I just don't support tariffs. I don't think they're helpful. I think they hurt your economy. I think they're a potential job killer. Because when you increase the taxes on the importers, you increase the price for everybody else. And for a president that came into office swearing that corporations already pay too much in taxes, he added more to them, right? But you see, the thing is, most people want increases on major corporations, right? Why? Because they do shit like this. They jack up prices. They price gouge people in moments of crisis. The importers, though, that are being hurt by these extra tariffs and these extra taxes on the tariffs, or because of the tariffs, they most of them are small businesses. They're not huge. You're hurting smaller business. And remember, small business is the backbone of this country. I don't care what anyone tells you. It's not Walmart. It's not major corporate America. It's the small mom and pop shops across the country. It's the small family-owned farms across the country. That's what builds this country. That's what makes this country when it comes to our groceries. Yet people don't want to understand that for whatever reason. Anyhow, I hope these prices start going down. And I hope my fears for future inflation come down too, because right now it's terrifying to know how quickly our inflation rate is going back up. And I know for a lot of people it's going to be very difficult if we don't get a handle on it pretty soon, because it's getting to the point where people just can't feed themselves. Anyhow, thank you for watching. As I mentioned in my video yesterday, I found out that apparently my channel is available for super thanks donations. If you see that link in the description, I think you have to hit the 3 little dots to see it. But if you see that and you can, please donate to the channel. That way I can continue doing the work I do here at Unapologetically Progressive. Thank you for watching.